Hello, hello, and welcome to the Wednesday night, morning, evening modeling stream. I'm your streamer, Bryan Bentley for cgspectrum.com. For all your modeling needs, go to cgspectrum.com/3D-modeling. It's good to be back. It's been a long week already, and it's only Wednesday. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's do this damn thing. So what you're looking at is where I've left off the last couple weeks. I kind of accidentally started making this environment and just kind of running with it. Just trying to bolster the skills and then just kind of showing you guys, what's possible in modeling. Eventually I will get back to traditional modeling like ZBrush and Maya and that kind of stuff. But I really like kind of like doing this stuff that's like really way out there and kind of really getting into kind of the nitty-gritty of the things that people don't think are possible or don't generally think of as modeling. Like a lot of this stuff that I'm doing, it's really math heavy, it's really procedurally heavy, but it's a big tool that you can put in your toolbox. And if you can kind of like wrap your head around this stuff, it'll make you hey Hardik, what's going on, man? How you doing? Good morning to you as well. It can make you very marketable, because not a lot of people know how to do this stuff, because it is pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult, I'm not gonna lie. So last week, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm doing okay. I'm a little under the weather. It's been a little gloomy in here in Hong Kong. It's been really rainy. I've been really busy, so it takes all types. So I think what I'm gonna do today is I'm going to do some optimization on this tree that I have duplicated around the background here, because it is each tree, even though it's a packed geometry, it's very, very heavy. I think I went a little bit too ham. I got a little bit too excited about the trees last time, and I think my actual leaves are a little bit too detailed. So I'll try just replacing the leaf with a single polygon first, and then if that still isn't sufficient, I will take and maybe I'll bake the actual leaf connection into the tree onto a texture map. I tend to like to keep everything kind of contained when I'm doing this stuff, just because it's like easier to move around. But I am going to start referencing in some other textures for oh, thank you, Hardik. I had a lot of fun last session. I like trying out new stuff. So I think I'm going to bring in some I'm going to start bringing in textures for like the ground, some photometric textures for the ground, and for these standing stones, and for this head, to kind of make these guys look like mossy kind of rocks or cliffs or something that have fallen, and some muddy ground that we can get into. Maybe try to mix some different shaders and such together, as well as possibly, yeah, I think that's what we'll get to today. We're going to dive into the shader context of Houdini. I find it very, very, very difficult, and I'm sure you do too. So maybe we can learn some ins and outs together. Okay, so I need to get some processing power back. So I'm actually going to turn off everything except for, and you can even see just as I select these things, it's chugging. I'm going to turn off everything except for, I'm even going to turn off Tommy. I don't really need him. And I'm going to turn off my tree instancing, and I'm just going to turn on my one base tree. And we can see how, like, I can hear my computer just whine now, trying to load all those 18 million polygons. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down my actual leaf geometry. So if we look here, my leaf geometry, if I look at this, each leaf here, I believe, oh, I already have that packed. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Each one of those leaves is, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70 polygons, and there's a lot of those leaves. So maybe I went a little overkill on modeling out those leaves. So let's have a look and see what our leaves actually look like. So let's do split top bottom, and we'll plug a geometry spreadsheet in here. And that was a simple leaf. So let's see. Let's actually, you know what? Let's look at this. Let's see. Yeah, it's about 60 polygons. Now that's 60 polygons times, you know, however many million leaves we have on here. So that's actually quite a lot. This guy here, if we look at this one is roughly, I think, 8 polygons. So actually, let's see if I can get away with just doing... So I have to have that line down the middle. So let's just try doing 4 and making it just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to template this guy, because I want roughly the same look. So I'm going to make it about the same size as this. So width. Length. And yeah. So shape. See what method 2 does. Looks about right. So let's just swap out this guy for this guy and see at a distance. And if there's really no change, then I'll go with the simple leaf over this very complex kind of here. And even now, it's still chewing pretty hard. So while this is doing its thing, no time to waste, I think I'm going to pop over to textures.com and see what I can find. So I've already done some searching on here. So the things I want, I already have a leaf texture. I think I want a rock texture, and actually I have some. If I look at my favorites here, done. Yeah, that looks almost exactly the same. And I went from 18 million polygons to close to 17. So that looks really, that doesn't look too far off from what I had. And they're so sparse. So actually, let's see if I can even go even further with this. Asked you one question on Instagram, but you didn't see my text. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm very tight about my Instagram. If I don't already know you in real life, I don't really check my messages that much. I am definitely an elder millennial. I don't check messages very well. I'm trying to get better at it, but yeah, just overall, I'm not good at it. So it's nothing personal. It just happens. But you can ask the question here. So fire away. Okay. I don't know why this guy's way out here. That's very strange. So yeah, that's getting somewhere. Let's try just a single plane. So I'm gonna go back to my regular leaf here. And I'm just gonna do a single plane. So I'm gonna do, let's do a grid. And I'll template this guy. Let's do 1 and 1. I think I'll just do this. And this will be just 1 polygon. Scale this down until it's about there. scale that to about there, and I'll scale that to about there. Okay, cool. So that will give us just a singular leaf that I can create. I'm gonna put a transform on there. So we'll take that down a little bit. And actually, if I want to, no, I'll leave it like this because I might texture map this later. So let's see what I want to do here. I want to color this. So I'm going to do, let's do a point wrangle. Or no, I'm going to do an attribute expression. And I just want this to fade like the simple leaf does from like that brown to yellow, just like how we had. So I'm going to do @cd here. And I want to do the bounding box. So the bounding box Z. So I'm going to say equals ch ramp. I'm going to ramp this. And that's going to be, I always forget how ch ramps work. I can't remember. I can never remember if it's the value or the, actually, let's just do this. We'll just do the aux. Point wrangle because I want the documentation. Okay, so that's going to be vector box equals bbox, and I'm going to press F1 to get my. This is probably a little bit overkill. I could probably just grab them and tag them, but I like to be as procedural as I can. Next live session on face modeling. Maybe not the next one, but the next when I'm done with this project. Actually, I just got a 3D scanner, the Revo Point 3D scanner, and so I might scan one of my friends' faces and retopologize and process some scan data. So that could be super interesting. So yeah, it's a good request though. I will take it under consideration. All right. Let's see. Rel. That's what I want. Rel bbox. Bbox is the H script. This is the vex. Geometry and position. Cool. So rel bbox is going to be geometry is going to be 0 and position is going to be @p. All right, and then we can say @cd equals box dot z. So if we look at this, should get, yeah, there we go. So black there, white there. So I'm going to take cd equals ch ramp. And ch ramp is string channel, then position. Okay, so this is going to be color. And so it's all black. So I want this ramp to be, so this is, by default, this is a spline ramp. So I need to go and edit my parameter interface, and I need to make that a color ramp. Any day now, Houdini. There we go. All right, so this color, so I'm going to change this from a ramp type float to a ramp type color. Say accept. And so I should get, there we go. Okay, so this I want it to be like a dark brownish color. And this I want to be a foresty green. like something like that. Yeah. Okay. So we'll plug that into our transform. Don't need this guy anymore. So it's a really simple way to get a nice color gradient on a. Yeah, close enough. All right, so there's our leaf, and I'll take this leaf and I'll plug it into here and see if we can get that point count down any further. I may even be able to drop one of my levels of branches, but I think that'll thin out my tree a little bit too much. Yeah, so that looks roughly the same, and I can already feel like it's like my what's the word I'm looking for? My responsiveness is way better overall. And from far away, like it almost looks exactly the same. And so now I have 16. So I chopped off 1,000,000 polygons. So if I look up here, let's just go to just my branches. This guy is 18,000 with just my tree. And then if we look down here, this little guy is 23, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that we can control this. So I think what I'll do is actually I'll do a low, medium, and high. So I'll put a switch in here. So I'm gonna say grab you, and you, drop you guys into there. So now I can choose which leaf I want. So that's not going to be a fast switch, but it'll be a switch nonetheless. With the 3D scan going to be in my workflow? Oh, I don't know. I'm not really sure yet. There's Houdini has a lot of really cool tools for processing 3D scans. So I'm not really sure. I might be a little bit of everything. So I might be doing, maybe if I do blend shapes and animation, or like be able to pose the face, I'll do that in Maya because Maya's really good for that. And then for like the data processing, maybe I'll do it in Houdini. So doesn't really matter. Data's data. I just need to get enough time to what's the word I'm looking for? To unpack my scanner. So let's go back to our. All right, so that's our little bush. Maybe. Let's see. Maybe a few less leaves. Maybe I don't need my tree to be bonkers super full. Especially since we're going to be seeing it from really far away. Looks like my network editor is frozen for some reason. All right, I'm gonna let that do its thing real quick. Just chill for a minute. switch over to, like I said, textures.com. So I found these rocky textures that I really liked, like this cliff texture over here. So I think I'm going to download those. So let's go home and let's do library. I'm going to type in, I think I typed in cliff for this. Yeah, so I think it was like Cliff Rock 3. Like I like these, like kind of like chunky, kind of smooth cliffs. Actually, looks pretty nice too. Granite Cliff. Let's see, Smooth Cliff. I think I'm gonna go with Smooth Cliff. Cool. So I'm just gonna download these guys. So I think 1K is fine. Let's go and grab. I'm gonna save those. Stream foliage demos, forest scene. Stream Houdini foliage demos. Ah, there it is. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna take, and it looks like I got a bunch of textures in here already. So I'm just gonna save that in the same spot as my hip file. That's this guy, save, that guy, save, this guy, save, and this guy. Ooh, did the wrong one for that one. Save. Along with that, I think I wanted some moss as well. Let's look and see if they have moss in here. Yeah, there's some moss like that. Ooh, there's actually I like that really bumpy one. There, yeah. So these are actually substance files, but they give you the just spat out texture. So I think I want those as well. So hopefully I don't run out of credits. And then maybe, just maybe, let's see if we have any, if we can find any mud for the ground. Just lots of mud, lots of mud. So let's go with, I don't know. Let's see, mud wash, crap. I don't want anything too muddy sand. Muddy road, no. There's nothing in here that's really jumping out at me, but oh, maybe cracked muddy ground. That'll work. Most of this will be covered by the grass stuff, so we'll grab these as well. And it looks like it's got some leaves and stuff. It looks like a foresty floor thing. Any day now. Did I save that one too? Oh, no, the other ones are still downloading. Okay, cool. Let's see if my... Okay, cool. Looks like that's come back to life. Looks like my viewport is still kind of dead. So, I'm going to save this. Save as. Foreseen VO2. And then we're just going to restart real quick. So let me just gonna restart Houdini real quick. That's a good question. So the question is, when do you decide when to use 1K, 2K, or 4K resolution textures? In general, like I try to use the biggest textures as I can, depending. Like if something's gonna be really close to the screen, I'll use 4K. If I'm gonna tile something a bunch, I'll use 1K or 2K. I don't really have a website. You can go to my Instagram or the website that I was on. It's called 3D. It's called just textures.com. So hopefully this will come back to life, and we can get back to kind of building this tree. Ooh, while this is also loading, I'm gonna look for some bark. Now it's always best to go and find as many textures yourself as you can, but ooh, that's actually perfect. There we go. You know, for demonstration purposes, I think this type of stuff is okay. So I'm gonna go and grab these as well. Oh, it looks like I used up all my credits. Oh, boo. I'll have to wait for this until next time. Okay, no biggie. So you get 14, I think you get like 14 downloads with your free, with a free subscription. So I hit that 14 real quick. So it might be worth, I'm going to be doing this a lot, might be worth paying the extra money to get unlimited downloads. Who knows? Type of work is so slow going. Okay, so this is my trees are generating now, and so there's my normals and all that stuff. So all that's a tree generator. All right, cool. Okay, so let's see if we can go back to, there we go. So that's all chewing. So there's my big tree, and I think I'm pretty happy with this as it is, like that. Maybe just one more thing. Maybe if I drop out the last level of branch, that might thin it down just enough. Yeah, I don't even really see much of a difference. It still feels full, pretty big. So I think that last iteration of branches, we'll see what it looks like when it pops back on. Yeah, it just like it still feels full. It just kind of gets a little bit smaller. So I think I'm okay with leaving that level of branch, that last level of branch, off in general. Yeah, I'm actually okay with this. I actually like this, and it's way faster. So now we're at let's see, it's still bonkers heavy, but that's why we pack it into a singular point. All right, that's much better. You know, around 5,000 polygons, much better. So I'm just gonna kind of yank that guy out. And then for my leaf, I'm actually going to assign a shader to this guy. I can probably assign shaders to those guys, and then I'll also assign a shader for my trunk. And yeah, so that should be good for the tree. So optimize the tree just a bit. Actually, before I do that, so I'll let that pack go into my output. That's actually not too bad, looking pretty good. Let's go back out and look at our tree field and see what that does to the scene overall. Yeah, this feels way better. This is way more responsive. It still feels nice and full, right? There's still a lot of trees there. It feels, yeah. So it's not super, super. Actually, that's a really good shot, like through the trees. Yeah, that's feeling way better. Kind of lost my bearings a little bit. Let's pull back a little. Oh, there we go. And let's bring back my my head. And so the last time, this is why I split this stuff out into separate kind of chunks so I can see different. I can just see different parts and look at the things that I actually want to see. Yeah, that's feeling way better. Like these are still feeling pretty full. They're still feeling like, but I've got my kind of like responsiveness back overall. Okay, so let's go ahead and texture up those leaves in our generated tree. So I'm going to turn these guys off, turn my generated tree back on, pop back in here. And so I do want to give these a little bit of shaping. So I'm going to actually just use that same texture that is on this leaf. So first I need to put UVs on this little guy here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that's going to be a UV project. UV project. So this guy. I'll press enter. And so as always, it's in the wrong initialize, the best plane. And so now if I look, I'm going to split my pane left and right. And this guy is going to be a UV editor. So there is my UV. So if I look here, I have UVs and I have UVs. So let's do this. And I'm going to make this guy dark as well. And I'm going to split this guy top bottom like I did before. And this is going to be a geometry spreadsheet. I almost always have my geometry spreadsheet open. Okay, so there are my U's. So 0, 1, yeah. So there are my UVs. I can see them over here if I go to select and I do vertices. So I can see those vertices there, which is fine. Okay, so now I want to bring in that leaf texture because I want to target just one of those leaves. So I'm going to press D. I'm going to go to background, and it might save those for me. Oh, yeah. Leaves, ivy, albedo. Let's see if it gives me those. Yeah. So actually what I'm going to do, just so I can see them, I don't want albedo. I think I want opacity. No, looks like albedo. Alpha? Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. So I want this box to fit on this leaf here. So after my UV project, I'm going to do a UV transform. So tab UV transform. And this will allow me to move my UVs around. So at this point, it's a lot like Maya. This. It's very large picture as well. And so should be able to, there we go, yeah. So I'm gonna press the period key and I'm gonna move this down to the corner here. Press the period key again and I'll move this guy. I want to get as much of this leaf on this plane as I can. Cool. All right. So there's the UVs for my leaf. So now, if I were to grab a, just for giggles, let's turn this background back to default. still want that dark. Gotta protect your eyes. All right, so now if I do here, before I do my little color on here, if I do a UV quick shade, just to see the placement. And then I'm gonna go and get yeah, so there's my little leaf there. So I can start to build a shader for this based off of this leaf. So instead of a UV quick shade, maybe I can do a Labs quick material. And that will allow me to do all of my maps. So if I do a Labs quick material, so let's see, opacity texture would be the leaves, leaves ivy. So there's my opacity. My normal would be leaves, let's see, normal. Ooh, maybe that's not the right one. Oh, that's silver lime. I need ivy. Ivy. These silver mine leaves ivy. There we go. Normal. So now I got my little normal pass on there, and then my base color. I'm gonna grab my leaves ivy. Where's the albedo? Albedo. Yeah. So now I have a single texture plane that has my leaf on it. I also get a little bit of texture variation with my little guy here. Actually, I might not even need that. Let's just go straight in. Oh, and it looks like my leaf is the wrong way. So I need to, let's do this. I'm going to rotate. Let's take the rotation off of this. And I'm going to rotate this guy like that. Something like that, and then I'll put another transform to rotate it down. Yeah, so this is what, I mean, I've said it once and I'll say it again. This is what I really like about Houdini is that you can go either way. You can build big and then scale back, or you can build small and then scale upwards. So let's see what this looks like with our final. Yeah, so it's feeling pretty good. So I'm losing my material. I pack this, but when I render it, I'll just have to declare these shop materials, and everything will look hunky dory. So if I go back to here, we should be able to see all that stuff. So that's one of the downfalls I think of that I find when I pack stuff is that like you just like the viewport becomes very, very different. Yeah, so that's pretty good. I like that. So if I turn off my wireframe, yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, so I went from 16 million, or almost 18 million polygons to around 5,000, which is, and it looks almost exactly the same. So be warned, you can go way overboard like I just did. So this is going to be way more responsive overall. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I think what I'll do is, so my labs material. So I'm going to do another labs quick material, and just, I mean, I'll, you know, maybe this is labs quick material does a lot of the work for you. It's really nice. I wonder if it has a tiling. Tiling. Let's see. Material principled. It looks like it's using a principled shader. Tint, opacity, round edges. Yeah, it doesn't have any tiling. It would be nice if it had like a tiling. I could probably peel this open and put it. Actually, you know what? Let's see what's in here. Material assignments, matnet. So, oh yeah, it's literally just making a little matnet with the principled shader inside of it. So. Cool. So it's not really doing much. It's just very convenient way of adding materials to things, but you don't get tiling. So so that's the drawback. All right. So let's see. I will add another one of these to the trunk. So I have these groups. So all branches and trunk. So I can do the same thing. And really all this is doing is tagging my my primitives here with a little shop material path. So here, yeah. Oh wait, I'm still looking at my pack data. So yeah, so pivot point, all that stuff, but it also should have a shop material path in here that's pointing at. So it's grabbing that object tree material, quick material 1, matnet material 1. So that's where that's plugging into. So if I make another quick material, I'm going to put that just before my color. So this guy, I'm just going to grab these groups. Say. So right now this quick material is flooding everything, which is why I'm losing my leaves. And do I have group? Yeah, I do have group. And yeah. Should be loading those leaves back in, and then putting, yeah, there we go. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. All right, so I don't really need this color anymore, but I do want to copy this color. Copy parameter. And I'm gonna put that in this tint for now. So eventually, I want to go and get a bark texture and put it on there. Now I'm not going to do any displacement mapping on these because these are going to be pretty far away, and I don't need that level of detail. Can I even do displacement mapping with this? Looks like I cannot. I can only do like regular normal mapping, which is fine. So I'm going to paste values. So I can get rid of this guy. So once I get my trunk materials, I can plug them into here as well. And then I'll have to do some, when I actually render this, I'll have to do some trickery to like reach down into this packed primitive and then and pull out those shaders. But for right now, I got my, I still have the fullness of my tree. I still have representations of my leaves and my branches. And everything's cool. You stop clicking on things. Awesome. Cool. All right, so let's go back out. I say I need to stop clicking on things as I begin clicking on things. Okay, so let's go back out. Let's hide this tree gen. Let's go back and look at what that does to our trees overall. So now these are all packed, so they're all going to be just gray, but they'll render just fine. And I got that delicious responsiveness back. Okay, cool. So let's now, so that took about 48 minutes, about an hour, so it's good. It's good. Moving along. Okay, so let's start to get into shaders. Shaders are very, very confusing in Houdini. When you start, at least when I started, I found them very confusing. So let's start with something simple. We'll just do our ground here and start making a shader from way, way down in the guts of Houdini. So, how do I want to do this? All right, so I'm going to pop open. So I'm going to do, I don't really need this guy anymore, so I'm going to close that. I like to have my geometry spreadsheet open. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my head. I'm actually going to make a shot cam because I'm from the land of visual effects, where everything you do revolves around a shot. So I'm just going to turn on just the things I need. So let's do our trees. So just a head and our trees. So I still have pretty much my responsiveness. And so I'm going to be pretty close to this head. Let's turn on my vine curves as well. Actually, no, those don't change the real silhouette much. So I think I want this guy to be sitting. Do I want him center? I think I want him on a third, maybe. Like that. So I'm going to hold down Control and click my camera, and that'll give me my camera. If I want to further move my camera around, I can do this little lock. Yeah, I think that's feeling pretty good. I like that. I like that. Okay, so that's my camera. So I'm going to unlock that. Move away. So it should give me my little camera icon somewhere in there. Yeah, there he is. Right there. So I'm going to call this shot cam. And this type of thing, like where you have to like lock your camera to your viewport and stuff, it used to really, really annoy me coming from Maya. But now that I'm used to it, I actually kind of like it because it's really, really hard to what I call bump your camera, to accidentally move your camera, because there's like 3 steps to jump into your camera. It's very hard to just actually accidentally jump into it and move it around. So I really like that aspect of it. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to turn off the head and the trees, and we're going to work with just the ground. So to do this, I think I'm going to split my pane top bottom here, no, left right here, and I'm going to split this left right here as well. And then there's this great targeting system in Houdini where I can say, so I'm going to right click here, I'm going to say you are linked to you are linked to you are linked to you. So this whole spot, whatever I do over here is going to be reflected in here. So let's pop into my ground. So whatever I do here is going to be linked there. Now here I want to be in my material context, and I want this one. So I want 2 and 2. Cool. So I have my. All right. Cool. So let's get rid of. I haven't really done anything with these, so those can go away. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to add a material to my ground. So that's pretty super simple. So I'm just going to say material. I'm going to add that to everything. Okay, so I'm going to make, now in a lot of the tutorials, sorry, a little brain fart there. A lot of the tutorials I see, people don't really do this. And like I want to know. Like this is like, I mean, there are easier ways to do it. And I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of questions like, oh, you could have done it this way, or you could have done it that way, blah, blah, blah. But what I really want out of this stream is understanding. Yes, there are always easier ways to do things. There are always prepackaged ways to do things. But what I seek is very, very much understanding of what is happening to any one piece of the puzzle that I'm working on. Ooh, what did I do? Oh, it like flopped my interface. Oh, that's weird. All right, let's do reset. Reload. There we go. Okay. So let's rebuild that interface. I don't know what hotkey I hit. That was crazy. And cool. So I'm gonna split. Left, right. Split. Left, right. One. 2. Mac. Cool. All right. Okay, so yeah, so like I said, I'm really into like understanding, like just understanding what's going on. So so this might get a little rocky, but we're all in it together. So most tutorials will show you, they'll say, all right, just drop a principled shader in here and then assign that, and then you have everything you need in here with a principled shader. You have your bumps and normals, you have displacement, you have basically it's all kind of like nice and packaged together for you. The thing that I find strange or a little uncomfortable about this, and it's kind of weird because some places I really care about optimization and others I don't. But for shading and rendering, I really like to be kind of optimized as much as I can. So this thing is doing a lot of stuff. Like it's doing a lot. So if I do allow editing of contents, and if you watched Daniel's visual effects streams, he's jumped into this thing and like done some really crazy stuff that like I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But if you jump in here, it's this giant graph of like lots and lots of stuff, and most of it is, and the reason it's this big is it's trying to be a catch-all for all situations. So usually I'll just have one of these off to the side. Like if I can't figure something out, I'll pop in here and like I'll like jump around and like try to see what's going on. But overall, what I really want to do, and this got kind of dangerous, is I'm just going to do a material builder. So if we look at the very end of this thing, like we have this collect outputs and this surface outputs here, and then we have this compute lighting here. So this material builder is just a blank version of that, right? We have the same thing. We have the surface output, material collect. It's got a displacement output for you here. It's got my surface globals. So this is surface color, surface opacity, all that stuff. It's got my displacement global. So it's like a little boilerplate thing all ready to get set up and to show you how to, well, where to go. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to take this material builder. I'm just going to plug it into my material here, and I think I need a light. I need some light, so I'm going to just do a physical sky here. So that just makes me a nice little HDRI and a sunlight. So I'm going to switch over to my render tab, and I'm going to also over here going to go to my out, and I'm just going to drop a mantra node. Okay, my mantra is going to be rendering from ShotCam, and I want my camera resolution to be half because I want to render really fast. So first thing is, let's just see if we can get something out of this. So we got something, right? So we have just our ground, right? And it's all white because I haven't done anything to my my surface builder. So make sure I'm going to 1 shot cam. Cool. All right. So I'm getting something. Like it's just this white nothingness. Let's do U bar. Yeah. So it's white nothingness. So the first thing I need to do is determine what my base level object is. Okay. Like what type of material is it? And the way that this works is in any shading context. So this holds true for Mantra. I believe it holds true for RenderMan. I believe it also holds true for Arnold. I don't know if it holds true for Redshift, but most of these kind of what are called path tracers, they all work the same. So at your base, you have a base, right? So this thing can be one of 3 types of material. It can be not metal. It can be metal. Or it can be, I think it can be subsurface in this case. Okay, so you get metal, not metal, subsurface. I think there's a couple other things you can be. You can have like translucency and stuff for like glasses and things. But I'm not making any glass. I'm just making mud. So I'm thinking this is going to be not metal, right? It's not a metal, and it's not absorbing. Well, technically mud does absorb and scatter light, but for the most part, for visual, it just kind of bounces off. So I'm going to go with not metal, and then. The next layer you have is your spec, right? So you have spec. Right. So you have these 2 things that are layered on top of each other. And the cool thing about Houdini, which took me so long to understand, is that's what it's doing internally. So these kind of things are called BSDF. That's bi-directional shading function is what it's called. So if I come into here and I do, if I look under shaders, BSDFs, look here, I have a metallic reflection, I have PBR reflection, I have PBR SSS, I have single scatter, which is also SSS volume, but I should have just PBR diffuse right there, bam. Okay, so I have this PBR diffuse, and now this is what's really confusing. It was like, all right, I need to plug this. So this is my diffuse, this is my surface output, right? So this is probably outputting information to my surface, but it's like, wait, these don't match up, right? So to do this, like, I don't know why you need this intermediate thing. I think it's for backwards compatibility. You need I think it's called a surface outputs, or surface exports. That's what it's called. So surface exports is like this nice little kind of converter thing. So we see here we have CFCF, OF, and then out F as well. And here we have layer and F. So put layer into here, F into here, and then I'll put CF into here, OF into here, and out F into there. Let's see what happens. I think the other thing I need to do is, let's do paint type. Let's put this one to out. I need to switch this to physically based rendering. Rendering, retracing, physically based. Okay, so this diffuse, it's white by default, so let's just try to make it a just a color, just to see what happens. All right, cool. So we're getting this very, very diffuse response, and you're seeing a little bit of ripple in here. I don't know if you can see that on the cool. So let's see if I can bring in my surface color. I haven't tried to do this yet, so maybe I can do, if I do it like I do it in VOPs, I'm going to do a bind import. And maybe I can just do CD. And that's going to be vector. And let's just see if I can plug this into color. Ah, there we go. Boom! So I'm pulling my color value, that CD value that I have here, and I'm driving my diffuse shader with that. That's super cool, right? Okay, so now this looks really boring because if I'm doing mud or something, I want something a little wet on top. So now that's where I'm talking. So this is this layer. So the next layer is going to be this specular value. So that is going to be another one of these BSDFs. So tab, shading BSDF, and I'm going to do PBR. I'm going to say PBR reflection. And so here we have layer and F, and then we also have base. So I don't know why this isn't named layer. But it's like it's all orange, right? So Houdini is really, really good at actually color coding stuff. So orange to orange, there's no yellow, but it looks like it's going to build that yellow for me. So I'm going to grab this layer, go out to here, and then I'm going to say layer and F. And I should see some shininess. Bam! So there's my shininess. So this looks like really, really wet mud. But I've built, like, instead of having that huge thing, I have this thing that I've built myself, which makes me feel good about me, and it's controllable, right? So now if I take my reflection has all this stuff. So we have this reflection, we have refraction, we have roughness, just like we've seen before. If I turn my roughness up, this will get more and more ref. And if I turn my reflection down, it'll probably give me, yeah, just gives me less intensity. And then we have a refraction of index. So a little bit simpler. Okay, so now let's try to bring in, those textures. Right. So instead of this color, we'll use those textures that I brought out, that I downloaded. So that's going to be a texture. Okay. And let's see, filter type box, filter width. Now, I don't think my ground has any UVs on it. So let me just double check. Let's go back to my scene view. Let's split this guy, top, bottom. So yeah, he doesn't have any UVs. So no problem. Down here, just before my material here, I'm going to do another UV project. And same thing, initialize best plane. So now I should have some UVs on this guy. Let's make sure. Yeah, so there's my UVs. Pretty simple because it's a flat plane. Okay, so that gives me my UVs. So let's go back to our render view, and I can clear this out. Okay, so my texture, my texture, we can see I have a UVs here. So I'm going to do UV coordinates. So that'll go to there. And so I'll grab my, let's go grab that mud. Moss. Did I download mud? I thought I did. Moss. Ivy. Ah, muddy ground. Here we go. So muddy ground, albedo. Accept. Okay. So I'm going to take that texture and let's just replace a color here. With this color. And let's just work on just our diffuse for now. Cool. So there's our source space. Let's do linear. Cool. Extrapolate derivatives. Cool. All right. So, my ground is really, really big, right? So, if I remember correctly, on textures.com that said this is it's a 1 meter square. So if I go and look back at my scene view, this guy is roughly about 250 meters across. It's a big disc. It's a really big disc. So it's about 250 meters across. So I want 250 repetitions of this guy as I see it so that it will be practically like almost the same size. So I need to modify my UVs. So I need to make them bigger or smaller. So that's going to be a UV transform. And you can even see in the little little icon here, it has this little square and then it moves it around. So I'm just going to slide that in between there. And I'm going to take my scale down to, so I'm just going to copy this guy because I always want my scale to be square. So I'm going to say copy parameter, paste relative reference, paste relative reference. So I only have to change one. So let's do 0.25. Yeah, so that looks about right. So maybe 0.1. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. It still feels really dark. I think I might have to do something with my color space. Linear. No, let's look at what this actually looks like. This could also be my lighting as well. So, could be where's my, yeah. Give me my lighting as well. So let's take my skylight and let's bring my exposure down a little bit. See if that helps. Yeah, that's okay. So it's pulling it down. So that's my color. Now I can bring in. So I'm actually just gonna copy this texture. So I'm gonna hold down Alt and just drag this down. So the next one I'm going to do is my roughness. All right. So the roughness is what's gonna give us that kind of like wet look. So over here I'm gonna grab. Let's see. Cracked muddy ground roughness. Accept. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I will plug into. And once again, I could easily have just grabbed the principled shader and plugged that in, but I really want to understand exactly what's going on inside of these things. So this is kind of an academic exercise, if you will. So let's see. I want over here my roughness here. So I just need to figure out which one of these little things it is. I'm pretty sure it's roughness value. That's a float. So this is spitting out color, right? But I want a float. So I'm gonna do a float to, or vector to float. Because remember, color is a vector, which is made of red, green, and blue. And let's plug in roughness. See what that gives us. Oh, look at that. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. All right. Let's see what this ground still feels really dark to me. Or like not dark. It feels very light. So let me go and look at what this actually looks like. I probably should have done this before I threw it in there, but we'll see. Let's do image demo. Okay, so if we look at this, like this is really, really, really dark. And I feel like this is really light. And I don't think my sun and sky are contributing so much to that. Let's see. Actually, let me just, I wonder if I can, I think I can just grab this texture and just drag it onto there. Oh, okay. Maybe let's do a no. And let's plug that into that. And let's see if I can do that. Ah, some of the nodes you can just drag on onto your viewer, and it'll update. All right, so let's see. I might have to do something with some color correction on here. Let's see. Color space. Let's see. SR color space. The texture is color space. Automatic. Texture blur, filter width, pixel blur. Okay. Maybe. Let's see what we have available to us. So I'm going to open up just that guy. Starting to lose a lot of real estate here. Scoot this over. Scoot that over. Scoot that over. Let's see. What do we have? What do we have available to us? I want my tool palette. Yeah. So galleries, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. I want sensor, maybe utility. The mantra stuff. What I'm looking for is a gamma node. Gamma. Gain, Gaussian random, gamma, maybe color space. Color correction, color, color transform, maybe. From space to space. No, that's just switching different types of color. Don't want that. Color map, color mix, color correct. Yeah, let's do gamma. And let's do 0.424. There we go. So I don't know if this is the correct way to do this, but I know that if you want to de-gamma, if you want to bring something down to linear, it's 0.424. So that's looking much closer to this, right? So anything you're using for actual color, so that tells me that Houdini thinks everything is linear coming into it. So anything I'm doing for actual color, I need to gamma that down. And let me see if in the principal shader, this is why I bring the principal shader out, is so I can go, and let's just look at base color, and let's see what they're doing in here. So this is why, this is crazy. This is base color, let's see what this is doing. So this is my base color, use point color, and then This is hooked into base color, so I'm going to chase this guy. And that is going into base color. Texture here. So this is base color. Texture into there. So let's see. If I dive into here now. Haha. Texture 2, 2A, 2A. Going down to the dungeons. Let's see. There's a luminance node. You can use that. Texture. Signature. Okay. Cool. So there's a base color node that I could use. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at this, so I'm just kind of feeling my way through. And this happens a lot. Like sometimes you'll be tasked with stuff, you're like, I kind of know how to do it. I'll figure it out. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah. Okay. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this color correction going in here. So basically anything I can see, I'll just have to throw a color correction node on. And everything else is going to be treated as linear. So this vector to float, I could also use that luminance node to do the same thing. So I'm going to do this into here and that into there. I should get almost the same. Yeah, same values. Awesome. Awesome possum. And okay, next thing is going to be my displacement. So that's going to be my height field. So I'm going to do a displacement texture. And we're going to plug out P and out in. And my texture is going to be that mud height. So let me stop this and restart it, because sometimes the displacement doesn't get picked up. And so yeah, it's working. So so this is the really confusing part. This is what I found incredibly confusing. So if I turn this up to like 2, all right, let's do 10. It's quite large. Right. So my displacement, you get like these tearing of your polygons. And this is what's really, really strange. And I find this really, really annoying. You have to have this other node called a properties node. And you have to do it really sneakily. And if we look over in the principal shader here, if we look down in our that's our displacement outputs. Let's go all the way down here. Can never find it, but it global P. Nope. But it's in there. Trust me. So you need to make a properties node, or at least I need to make a properties node the way I'm setting this up. And so what that'll do is it'll basically define how much this thing can be pushed around in space. And yeah, so it'll basically give you a displacement balance, and it's really, really annoying to build. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. So I'm going to do a properties, and I'll plug that into here. And so what I need to do with this property is, and I find this very annoying, I have to go in and edit parameter interface, and I have to search for bound under render properties. And that will be under, it's not baking, so much stuff in here. is it? Shading. I think it's displacement bound. So I need to pull this over and say accept. And we'll set this to something like 20. And so just like that, magically everything works. I'm sure there's a reason for this, why you need this displacement bound, but you need it. Like, once again, I don't know I don't know everything. So now my displacement is properly working. Like, I would really love if they were going to do this. I feel like this thing should also be in the boilerplate. And I actually might save one of these as one of these days with this thing already in there, so that I have this proper displacement bound. So now that effect scale is way too high, and actually it doesn't line up, because remember I took this X form and did that. So what I think I'll do, but let's just make sure this is working. So let's go to 10, 1, 1. I might have to stop this and restart it. Yeah, cool. So let's go back to 1. And this might be a little overkill, because this is going to be mostly covered in grass. So, yeah. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that this displays. So I have this displaced texture. So I can't tile this like I did before. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a. So let's look in displace. I'm going to do. Yeah, so there's just a displace node. So this out P, out in, out P, out in. So let's just replace this guy here, with that guy there. And so I have this P, this UV, and this value. So the value is a black and white value of how much I'm pushing this thing up and down. So I can do the same thing here. I can grab this texture, and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to duplicate this luminance as well. And remember, because this texture is being controlled by this UV chords, if you're in Maya, this stuff here, this is kind of like that place 2D texture node. That's what that's doing. But the great thing is, if you remember how that place 2D texture node, how that goes into your file node, in Maya, it's like 10 connections. Like, this is one connection. It's beautiful. It's super efficient. So here I'm going to grab my, I'm going to go grab that muddy ground height. No, that's grass. Strand height. Let's do muddy ground heights there. And that I'm going to plug into value. So now we're getting a little bit of that displacement on there. And if I wanted to amp this up or down, I can just multiply this by a value. So I'm going to drop in a constant here and a multiply. And I'm going to multiply this guy by that guy and go into my value. So let's multiply this by like 50 just to see if it's working. We're going to stop this and re-render. Yep, that's working. That's working. So that's all that kind of like crufty stuff there. So it's pushed it all the way up. It's pushed it up by 50. So I only want to multiply it by 1 because I want it to be exactly the same as my ground. So there's my little displaced ground. So so if you compare like this, so I don't need this guy anymore. So these guys were boilerplate. This was boilerplate. That was boilerplate. That was boilerplate. So not too bad. Not too bad. Once again, nice academic exercise. I'm not really sure about this gamma correction node that I have going on here. There might be a more efficient kind of Houdini-esque way to do that, but I know just from experience and like how to gamma stuff up and down that should be, if it's treating everything as linear and there's no way for me to push it back into sRGB, that's how I would manually push stuff back into sRGB. I'm sure there's an easier way to do it, but that's what I got. Cool. So I'm gonna go back out. I'm gonna call this mud material. And the other thing I'm actually going to look up is this displace texture. I want to know if I need to plug in my P and my N and my UV from my surface normals. So this is the displacement node, displaces surface position and modifies surface normals. So I can say the type of operation to perform. Bump is fast alternative. Displace only modifies normals to give the appearance of surface height variations. The surface offset is defined by the value input. The position isn't modified. Normal sets the type normal sets the normal vector to value after converting from set from normal space. From set to normal space to applying flip defines blah blah blah. Let's see, space sets flip x flip y displacement. Please click here. Okay, cool. I think that's gonna work as we have it. Okay, so so the next thing, I think I'm gonna go and try to do this with my, how much time do I got left? I got about half an hour left. Let's try it with the standing stones. So let's turn on our standing stones. So we got those in there. Already we're getting a little bit of nice variation in our scene just by throwing those standing stones in. So I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna go over to, I'm gonna save this first before I do anything else. And I'm gonna go grab my standing stones and I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna drop a material node in here. Actually, my standing stones are, yeah, no, that's fine. Let's drop a material node on those bad boys. And I'm just going to duplicate this mud material because this is a good base. So I'm going to call this mud material. So I'm going to call this stone mat. And we'll just drag this guy from here into material. So this should look like, yeah, so there's our, now these guys don't have UVs on them, which is why they look bonkers, right? So I don't want to use UVs for these. I want these to be, I don't want to have to use UVs for these. I'm actually going to try to use world space stuff for this. So I want to project this from three different angles, and obviously I don't want mud, I want those cliffs. So let's start back in here with this custom texture. So instead of my UVs, I think what I'm going to use, and I've seen this used before, is this thing called a triplanar projection. So what my triplanar projection does is it projects from three different angles. And so you have these tint with color, X, Y, and Z. So let's just go ahead and let's just forego. Let's go back to the basics. So let's disconnect our displacement. And I'll stop rendering this while I do this. And let's disconnect our roughness. Let's disconnect that. And so we'll just work with just our color in here. So surface position, surface normal, axis offset. Oh, good. We have scale for each one of these texture maps in here. So what this is going to do is it's going to replace these texture guys in here. So let's let's chop that off, and we'll just keep kind of all of this for later. Okay. All right. So let's see. So if I just plug in just my color, so I don't think I need any color correction for this because this is coming straight from Houdini. And let's just see what we get with just that. Let's see what our roughness is at. Let's put this at like 0.5 roughness. And reflection at like 0.5 as well. Cool. So now, this is actually really cool. So we can see that this is mapping onto each face differently. So this guy's getting a face, that guy's getting a face, that guy's getting a face, that guy's getting a face. So they're all getting a different projection, and we can see here this UV projection, right? We can have a different projection from each axis, and I think there's a mass sharpness that we can use here as well. So I can make this super sharp, so we should be able to see these guys kind of contract a bit like so, or I can make it super soft, and so now everything's going to blend a little bit more. Very, very handy. And I think if I look at this, I wonder if I can, yeah, this is just another DSA. And if you go and you look at, let's see how they can, yeah. So if you go and watch my little Buddha streams from a couple of weeks ago, I built this guy in a geometry context, and this is just pre-built in a shading context, so it's very handy. So what I want is, so I have my x-axis, my y-axis, my z-axis. So I am going to actually use my color for this. So I'm not going to use that texture map because once again, oh wait, I can scale those. Perfect, great. Excuse me. So what I'll do, actually I want the same map in all three axes, so I think I will use this color. Because if I take the same color, right, if I make all these red, like the whole thing will just become red. Right, so if I want to cover this whole thing in the same kind of rock texture, I'll just use the same one that I did before. So, do a texture, and I'm going to leave the UV unhooked. So let's just see if this works. Let's see. I'm going to grab my texture. Apologies. Wow. Excuse me. It's been a long day for me. All right, so I'm going to go get that cliff texture that I grabbed before. Excuse me. All right, so that would be leaves, moss, smooth cliff, albedo. Let's just take this color and we'll plug this into excuse me. Let's see, X. Let's see. Positive axis color. Yeah, and there we go. Right, so it looks like I got that smooth guy going on there. Y-axis and Z-axis. So now I have some rocks. So let's look at one of the ones that are a little bit closer so I can see. So it looks like I'm getting a little bit too much tiling. So what I'm going to do is I want to control all of these axes in the same way. So I'm going to drop down a constant that'll do that for me. Constants. And this I want to be a vector 3 because this guy's a vector 3. So I'm going to do, so I have an x-axis scale, y-axis scale, and z-axis scale. So I'm going to take this value and say, let's find it. Let's see, x scale. So it's going to be y scale, or maybe z scale. Z scale. And y scale. To maybe, and then same thing here. I'm going to copy this parameter, paste relative reference, paste relative reference, and we should see one. That doesn't seem to be changing anything. So this could be that I'm using this texture and I have no UV plugged into it, right? So the other thing I'm not doing is I'm not plugging in my P and N, so we're going to do that as well. So let's see. Let's do P into P and N into N. Yeah, so let's try this with just, let's just go grab that actual texture map. So it's going to be smooth cliff Vito. Oh, that's my z-axis. Smooth cliff. Don't tint with color. Don't tint with color. Now I'm getting somewhere. 0.1. 0.01. I'm getting some of that texture in there. Maybe that's too small. I think that's feeling pretty good. This 0.25 is feeling pretty good. So let's look at the rest. Just shift and click outside of here. All right, cool. So that's the mechanism that we can use to. I think it wasn't working before because I was trying to pull UV. Let's see if I disconnect these. If it has any. Yeah, it doesn't really have any bearing on that. Okay, so that's my color. Right, so I have this triplanar projection. Do I need to put this, make it darker? Yeah, I think so. Because this is pure, this is color that I'm going to see just like the other one. So I need that to be darker. I'm going to check that. I will check that against the actual texture. Smooth cliff albedo. Yeah, it's pretty dark. Right, so this is pretty dark. And that looks about right, right? I'm getting like kind of like these striations here. I'm seeing those striations there. So if I want this to look a little bit smaller, like these things to look bigger, then I need to make my details look smaller. So let's say 0.1. Maybe 0.5. Scaling textures is always the opposite. Cool. All right. So I have this set up. So now I think what I can do is I can start to build the rest, right? So this is going into my color here, and then my reflection here, I need that as well. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the textures. I'm just going to use this triplanar instead. So Alt drag. I want everything to line up. So I'm going to use this one size controller for everything. So for this one, and so for my X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do the same thing. Say copy parameter, paste relative reference, and paste relative reference. Really, because I just want to change. These guys will now be the same as this one. So that is going to be my roughness map. So I'm going to come in here and grab roughness, smooth cliff, roughness. Okay, and I'm going to take, so I need that luminance value again. And that is going to go and plug into my reflection. I just realized I've been so enamored I haven't been taking any questions. There are no questions. Ha ha ha. Great. All right. So my luminance is going to go into my roughness here. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit of variation now in my roughness. I can actually let's bring this reflection up just to see. It's a pretty evenly lit scene, so I'm not going to get a lot of reflection on here. Cool. And just like I did before, so I have, this is my my albedo, my roughness, and then I also need my my displacement. At some point, I will figure out how to do normal maps in this. I just haven't figured it out yet. Maybe I'll jump over to the back over to the pre-built surface shader to see how they did it. Okay. So, don't need this displace texture. That can go away. It'll let me delete it. There we go. Stop. And I'm going to go and get, let's see, this displace along normal. Let's bring this back up in to here. P goes to P. N goes to N. Okay, and I'm going to do just the same thing. Hold down Alt. Actually, I'm going to grab both of these. Hold down Alt. Pull this down. This guy is going to be height now. Nope, that's palm trunk. Let's see. Soft rock albedo, AO, height, normal, roughness, height here. That is going to plug into this multiply. So let's restart this and see if my rocks explode. Hopefully they do, because that means my displacement is working. Good. It's actually taking a little bit. Oh, there we go. Look at that. That is absolutely beautiful. That's fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted out of this. So it's still feeling a little bit too tiled to me. Like I'm starting to see some of the same kind of artifacts, especially on this guy's like bang, 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 bang there. So let's do one. Hard refresh. 2 tiles. Let's do one. I get like this really perverse satisfaction out of like not doing things the easy way. Now, if I was in production, I would totally like do it as quickly and as easily as possible. But ooh, yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. Yeah, I'm digging that. This is looking really good. I guess hitting this highlight quite nicely. Yeah, that's awesome. I really like that. So that's chef kiss. Fantastic. Yeah, cool. All right, so there's my rocks, more or less. Let's see. Actually, you know what? I want to figure out how to use a normal map. So let's actually, I think I already have the documentation up for this. Actually, let's just go look in the principal shader. Actually, I wonder if I can just use the core. Settings. I don't think this has displacement attached to it. No. This guy does. So let's see. Normal. Normal mapping. So it looks like normal mapping is a displacement texture set to normal here. Pretty much everything plugged in, so let's see where that goes. That goes into this two-way. This goes into enable bump. This goes out 2 places. Looks like it's rotating the map. So it's going into a base in and a normal in into a principal shader. Oh man, this is getting deep. This is getting real deep. So it looks like the normal map is looking to run into a base in and a coat in. Okay, cool. So let's look at this. Let's see if we can find that. I might have to dig into right here. It's my principal shader core. And that has base in and normal in here. So let's follow those breadcrumbs. Find. Where did my find dialog go? There it is. Back in my principal shader. No normal there. So let's see. Where are you going? Okay, so we start with our outputs here. And let's see. F layer. Okay, so let's go F. I'm just chasing these. That's a mission. That is a switch. Coat reflection. So that's just a non-metallic reflection. And so this is basically what we've done before. Layer mix, transparent. Another reflection, lots of reflections, lots of levels of reflection. All right, so in my diffuse, there's this in, and that is normalize. Base normal. I will actually have to look this up. I can't actually figure out where it's coming from. This is my base color. This is my albedo. Metallic reflection. Front face. Coat. This is all my coat stuff. This is a mission. This is unlabeled. Yeah, I'm not really sure where that normal's coming from. All right, well, maybe we'll save that for next time. I will do some digging and figure out how to unroll that little mystery as it is. There is a look like there. Oh, that's looking wonderful. I'm super happy with this. This is really nice. This is really, really nice. Check out our like little mud. Got these stone bits here. Yeah, we haven't even done any like depth of field or fog or compositing or anything, and this is already looking. I'm really super happy with the way this is looking. I think one thing I might want to do before we sign off is I want to multiply my. I want to bring back that kind of like tint, that tint that I had on my ground, because I took the time to make it. I might as well use it. So I'm gonna say bind. I'm gonna go get that surface color again. And that's gonna be CD from my geometry, and that's going to be a vector. And all I really need to do is just multiply these things together. So I'm going to do a multiply. So this might make it really dark, but we'll see what happens. So it made it super dark. Let's bring in that color. See just what that looks like just on its own. It's pretty light, but it could stand to be a little bit lighter. Actually, you know what I'll do is I like that color variation. Like I do like this kind of striation, but I'm just gonna do a luminance. I'm gonna do a luminance and then I'm gonna do a color correct. So that should turn it to just black and white. And then I'm going to do a color correct behind that. And so I can take, if I plug that in, so I should be able to take my value up. Yeah, so that makes it brighter. I can bring my gamma, I believe. I'll leave that back at 1. Yeah, so this is closer to white, so I'm going to get some darker patches and some lighter patches now. And that will then go into... That'll go into my multiply, and then my multiply will go into my color. So I'll get some darker, yeah, so I'm getting some darker patches and some lighter patches now. And so you can put these color correct nodes. Like if I wanted my mud to be a little bit more wet, a little bit more shiny, and I wanted to edit my roughness here, that's going into here, I could pull that down and it'll make it a little bit more wet and shiny. My reflection. Let's bring that back up to 1. Yeah, it's still a little bit too much. Let's do 0.5. Yeah. So that's looking really cool. I'm really liking this. And this displacement is so fast. It's so ridiculously fast. And that's our show for tonight. Well, that's the stream for the night. So we made a lot of progress. We made 2, not 1, but 2 totally custom shaders. Like we don't have to rely on people serving us things anymore. We can get in, like we can use the stuff that people use to serve us. We can get in there, we can use stuff, whatever, like however we want to use it, right? So this is really, really cool. I really like this, right? So we've basically gone down, 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 down. We've basically done what's inside of this shader core, like a little bit of what's inside the shader core, and we've done it all ourselves. And it's not really that complex, right? It's just these 2 little guys here, and then we're modulating what they're doing. Now, we can get more, like when you're getting in a glass and like internal stuff, like that's obviously gonna get a little bit harder. But overall, yeah, I like where this is going. The other thing that I would really like to do is I would like to put some moss on the top of all of this, so we'll look at how to do that next time. We'll bring in our grass. We'll bring in some other kind of maybe some photo scans foliage. We'll start texturing up our tree. We'll add some volumetrics in here, maybe some God rays coming through the trees. It's really starting to come together, and yeah, I'm happy with this. Like I can't wait to see where this goes. I don't really have a plan for this. I'm just kind of going. Oh, there's also the vines that are that are all over the head that we need to build. You know, translucency for leaves, everything, man. It's environments are great because I like doing creatures because they're super fun and they have a lot of personality, but environments are great because there's just so much stuff to do in them. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me for these 2 hours. Hope you like it. If you want to take classes from me or any of our great mentors, go to cgspectrum.com/3d-modeling. I'm your host, Bryan Bentley. Thank you so much. Drink water, eat vegetables, get rest, and do a plank once a day. It really opens up your mind and your nervous system. So I will see you next Wednesday. Peace.